Hey guys, ChainFire here, bringing you another War Robots review. Today we will be talking about the new prototype robot, the firearm mechanics, and the new spawn points on Shenzen map. To properly test this, I set my hanger up with different relevant combinations in a way that'll save you time and give you, the viewers, a pretty good perspective, especially for those of you who could not test these out for themselves. I have a feeling these things that we are testing will hit the live server in one way or another, and that's why I've invested more in this review. Let's start off with the firearms that will now fire in double speed after 3 seconds of shooting. The Punisher, a light 500 meter range Gatling gun in the test server, lost 180 rounds in capacity and firing rate dropped to nearly half, but will increase to 22 rounds per second after firing rapidly. His daddy, the medium Punisher MK2, lost 70 rounds and 4 rounds per second, but will get up to 24 rounds per second after 3 seconds of holding down that red button. The mullet stayed with the same capacity, but can double their fire from 5 to 10 RPS after 3 seconds of rapid fire. It has 6.5 seconds of 10 RPS. Same goes for the MK2, as far as capacity, 120 rounds per clip, and rate of fire will double from 8 to 16 RPS. Let's see what this thing does on the battlefield in high speed. And the Punisher's at regular speed. The Molot's at high speed, and at regular speed. As you can tell, these things can now give you hell, and not just be annoying as they are in the live server currently. If you ask me, I feel these should not be touched and stay as is in the game. The firearms are for your first stage in the game. They are cheap and fast to upgrade, and if these get a buff in the live server, I bet you'd see a major increase in use of them in all tiers, and we will be shredded to bits by 2 or 3 of these at a time every move we make. Many players who've run this on the test server really enjoyed it and gave positive feedback to the developers. I believe, on the other hand, that a buff to these guns will be really bad for us on the live server. And now to the main part of this review and what we've all been waiting for. We're going to talk about the new prototype bot and take it for a spin with different setups. The dash ability bot we tested last week was definitely overpowered, and you can check out my previous review to see for yourself. I suggested they reduce the cooldown on the special ability and perhaps lower the hit points on it and leave everything else as is. We don't really have a proper beacon runner in the live server because the Gareth may be fast, but it's super vulnerable with only 71,000 hit points and no ability of getting away from Trident and RDB fire, and in both cases will be disabled after a single hit. The Dashbot seemed to me being the ideal beacon runner, and as we all know, beacons win games. Instead, this week, the developers added an energy shield, an additional medium weapon slot, and kept the cooldown time the same, with 150,000 hit points, and an energy shield is going to be tough to take out, and the extra weapon slot makes this thing even more deadly than before. We're gonna start with the Tulumbas. I enjoyed the RDB in the live server, and figured I'd try this out and see if it has, the Dashbot, has the ability to compare with the Griffin in the mid-range. It was a load of fun to run this on the test server, and it was really tough because of all the energy shields, but here are some of my favorite clips. In conclusion, it does not compare with the RDB, and I'd pick the Russian Def button over the Tulumba Dashbot, as the CRV pins reload faster and therefore a full RDB build will do more damage over time. Next, the Orkin setup. This is the ultimate death button right here, ladies and gentlemen. 137,000 damage in 3.2 seconds. Let's take a look. And now, the end of Mechkind, capable of doing 213,312 damage every 14.4 seconds. Let's take a look, pilots. The Dashbot with Terrence. As you can tell, these things are even more overpowered now, and definitely can't hit the live server as is. In conclusion, after loads of fun with these past test server weeks, I'm going to recommend two options for testing. A medium robot with 150,000 hit points, 55 km/h speed, the special ability dash, cooldown of that ability 15 seconds, and 2 medium weapon slots. Also, I would recommend a reduction of 20% on the dash distance. Second, a medium robot, 85,000 hit points, a energy shield, speed of 45 km/h, special ability dash with a cooldown of 11 seconds, with 2 medium weapon slots and 1 light. In regards to the change in spawn points on Shenzen map, as I've already stated in my last review, I'm very much against this, as those spawn points make you a target for mid and long range as soon as you spawn. Getting beacons is suicide mission every time, and the map is already close enough as is. My suggestion would be to change the layout of the map to match on both sides, with 1, 2, or 3 openings mirroring each other on both sides of the map. That's it for my review, guys, and thanks for watching. If you liked it and think more people should see it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to be notified when I go live or post voiceover commentaries, reviews, and gameplay. If you'd like, stick around for my favorite games with a full prototype robot hangar from this week's test server with amazing moments and great scores every game. The first will be sped up ×4, and the last game at double speed. Love you guys, and I hope to see y'all real soon in my next video.